Welcome back to Building What We've Learned. Today we're covering the Hans Christian Andersen story of the Snow Queen, or as you may know her better, Elsa. This is going to be a really fun one, so I hope you stick around for it. Let's get into it. It's not often a new story gets added to the Christmas canon. And for the most part, the Snow Queen wasn't widely considered a part of that group until Disney turned the character into a human with snowflake powers, rather than a snowflake who happens to look human. Though what may surprise you is that the Snow Queen, who was the inspiration behind Elsa, didn't even make that many appearances in the original novel, despite being the title character. In fact, the story doesn't even begin with who ends up being our main character, but rather explaining the lore of the world. There once was a magic mirror that only reflected evil and cruel things. The demon who owned this mirror would show it to all his demon students, so that the younger demons could see the evils reflected back in the world, even from the most pure of beings. The younger demons began to wonder what would happen if they showed the mirror the heavens. So together they lifted the mirror up into the sky. However, as they approached, the mirror began to shake, and before they could reach the gates, it shattered. But even a broken mirror can still reflect things. So as the shards fell to earth, the pieces began to get lodged into the eyes and hearts of all those below. Should a piece of the mirror land in someone's eye, they would lose the ability to see any good in the world. But should a piece of a mirror land in someone's heart, the person would lose the ability to feel happiness and joy. It is through this that we are introduced to our main characters, Kai and Gerda. Kai and Gerda were neighbors and spent their childhood together. They shared a flower box full of roses, and Kai grew to be smart and a genius at math, while Gerda grew to be pure and innocent. Their grandmothers would tell them stories of the Snow Queen, who ruled over the snow bees, a type of magical snowflake. One day, Kai sees a small figure dancing among the flakes of snow, but when the little figure beckoned him to follow her, he backed away out of fear. The following summer, while the two children were out in the gardens, Kai got hit in both the eye and the heart with fragments of the evil mirror. With the two separate shards tainting his world, Kai became cruel and aggressive. He destroyed the flower box he and Gerda used to love. He insulted the grandmothers in his life, and lost all care for his friends. The only thing he did not deem hideous was the snowflakes that fell in the town during winter. Kai started spending time standing out in the snow just to appreciate the perfect mathematical beauty of the snowflakes. When he would spend time with other children, it would never be Gerda. Instead, he would join the boys in the city square, where they would tie their sleighs to the adult carriages, just to see how far it would take them before the child would cut the rope and return back to their friends. Kai decided to tie his rope to the most elaborate carriage he could find, which took off almost immediately once he was secure. The carriage traveled fast through the town gates and into the countryside. When he could no longer see his home, Kai finally made himself known and was allowed up into the carriage where he met his passenger, the Snow Queen. She was taller than him now, a beautiful yet imposing woman who looks like she was dressed in ice. Kai was quite cold at this point, so the Snow Queen kissed away his chill, making it so Kai could not feel the cold seeping into his body. Kai forgot all about little Gerda and his family back in the city, as he and the Snow Queen flew up into the air towards the Queen's Palace of Ice. Though Kai forgot about his friends, the people of the city did not. Because Kai disappeared in the dead of winter, many assumed he had died, frozen somewhere they could not find. Gerda wanted to mourn her friend, but as she cried, the sun and the flowers told her that Kai was still alive. When spring arrived again, Gerda went down to the river where Kai was last seen and offered up her new pair of red shoes to the water, asking the river to return her friend. But when Gerda threw her shoes into the river, they washed right back ashore. Thinking she did not throw her shoes far enough, Gerda climbed into the little boat and tried to toss her shoes further out into the water. Her movement caused the boat to become unlodged from the shore and started drifting downstream, with Gerda still stuck inside. She drifted for a long time until the boat finally bumped up against the shore of a little house surrounded by a beautiful garden. The house belonged to an old woman who let Gerda in to warm up. While inside the house, the old woman used magic to slowly make Gerda forget who she was searching for in the first place. As the spell set in, the woman also began to make all the roses in the garden disappear, for if Gerda saw them, she would remember the little boy which she shared so many rose-scented memories with. The woman let Gerda play in the garden day after day, and kept pleasant company with her over supper. One day, however, Gerda noticed the hat the old woman liked to wear. and on it was a single rose, hidden within the design of the other flowers of the garden. Gerda realized that it was odd that in all the flowers the woman cared for, not a single rose could be found. Suddenly, Gerda remembered Kai and the rose box they used to share. As Gerda cried for the friend she had lost and then forgotten, her tears pulled the roses out of the ground, and they told her Kai was not dead. Gerda tried to talk to the rest of the flowers in the garden, but none of them could tell her where Kai was. So Gerda fled the old woman's house, only to find that summer had passed, and the world was well into autumn. Soon, Gerda found a crow, who told her the story of a princess who lived in the castle where the crow's girlfriend stayed. The princess was very beautiful and wanted to find a man who could hold a conversation with her rather than stutter at her looks. One day, a young man in shabby clothes approached the castle. He did not stutter at the princess's beauty nor the grandeur of nobility. He was able to sit calmly in the gilded halls and hold an intellectual conversation with the royals. Gerda realized that sounded a lot like Kai and set off to the castle to find him. The crow guided her to the heart of the kingdom towards the castle. He warned her that they would need to sneak in to see Kai, for she was not meant to be in the palace. With the crow's help, Gerda found the window that led to the princess's bedchamber and snuck in. As quietly as she could, she approached the sleeping figures. But when Gerda moved to wake the young man, she discovered it was not Kai at all. She began to cry, for Kai was still missing, and her tears woke up the couple. They had Gerda explain herself, and once they heard the story, they offered her hospitality within the castle. To honor the crows attempting to help the little girl find her friend, they made him and his partner into official crows of the court. Gerda knew she could not stay in the castle, as Kai was still missing. Instead, she asked for a horse to carry her further into the snowy mountains, and boots to replace the red shoes that the river had claimed. Instead, the princess dressed Gerda up in the nicest warm clothes they had, and placed the little girl into a golden carriage. The princess waved her off, and Gerda was sent out into the countryside again. Peace did not last long, however, as the golden carriage attracted the attention of bandits. The robbers set about stealing all the things the princess had given Gerda. But a little robber girl, the daughter of one of the bandits, decided Gerda was too pretty to kill and wanted to keep her as a playmate. They rode together towards an old castle the bandits had taken over, where the little robber girl showed Gerda all the animals she had captured, including doves and reindeers. During the night, the robber girl made Gerda sleep in the same bed as her, a knife gripped in the little girl's hand as she slumbered. Quietly, the doves told Gerda that they saw Kai being taken up by the Snow Queen towards her palace in Lapland. The reindeer offered to take Gerda there, as it was his home before he was captured. The next day, Gerda told the little robber girl her story, and the girl was so moved that she let Gerda go, bundled in the clothes of the bandits, along with plenty of food. The reindeer carried Gerda north towards the house of an old Sami woman, the indigenous people of northern Scandinavia. The old woman cared for them, providing them warmth and food before riding on a fish and telling them to go to the house of an old Finn woman. The house was the last stop before they continued on towards the Snow Queen's palace. The reindeer was concerned about the remainder of the journey and asked if there was anything the old woman could do to help. The woman said while she could provide aid, nothing would be as useful as what Gerda already had, the purity and innocence that allowed nature to speak to her, and walk through the cold world with strength despite her bare feet. The final stretch of the journey took them into the depths of the Arctic. As they approached the Snow Queen's castle, the reindeer had to leave Gerda at the edge of the grounds. Slowly, as Gerda approached the gates, she became surrounded by snowflake guards blocking the entrance. Having nothing else at her disposal, Gerda began to pray, and from the warmth of her breath, angels appeared and cleared a path for her. Gerda found that the castle was largely empty. No guards were inside, and the Snow Queen was nowhere to be seen. Finally, she found Kai sitting alone on the icy floor of the throne room, attempting to spell out words in the frozen shards of ice. The Snow Queen had told Kai that if he was able to write the word eternity, she would grant him power over the world along with a new pair of ice skates. The Queen had left Kai after that so she could continue to spread snow further south. Kai was so absorbed in the ice puzzle that he did not hear Gerda come in, nor did he realize how cold his body had become. It was only when Gerda ran up and began to weep and kiss Kai that her tears began to melt the mirror shard in his heart, and allowed Kai to feel again. Gerda then began to sing a song her grandmother would sing before Kai was lost, which caused Kai to remember everything and begin to cry as well. The mirror shard in his eye became loose and fell out. The two friends danced around each other with joy before walking out of the ice castle hand in hand, not seeing the puzzle arrange itself into the word eternity behind them. Outside, the reindeer had returned with another, so both Kai and Gerda could start their journey in reverse. When they met the little robber girl again, she was much taller and alone. She told them of how the prince and princess had gotten married and begun their tours of other kingdoms, about how both the crows had aged well past retirement and had died a peaceful death, as much time had passed since they had last seen them. Kai and Gerda didn't realize the extent of their absence until they returned home to their village. While much was the same, they were not. They had left when they were small children and arrived home as full-grown adults. It was summertime, and they were finally able to live in peace once again. Thank you for watching. I love how this one turned out. I'm normally really hesitant to work with glass because I personally can't see it that well, but I've been watching a lot of videos by Bismuth, who makes the most beautiful, any color possible gradients, and I had to give it a shot, and I think it turned out perfect. It is the best way to represent ice when surrounded by a mountain of ice. I don't currently have plans on what my next build essay video should be about. I have a couple of world mythology books I'm looking through, but nothing concrete. So if you have a topic you'd love me to cover, please drop that in the comments. Also, if you know how to fix a texture pack for my Elytra wings, I would love to know. Mine don't work right now and it makes me very sad. Anyways, I'll see you all next time. Have a happy new year. Bye, guys.